So I've been doing this show 26 years, answering people's financial questions. I'm a baby boomer. So when we started out, we were dealing with baby boomer problems. And the baby boomers were in their 30s when I started this out, early 30s. And there was this bunch of characters coming up behind the baby boomers called the Gen Xers, skateboard crowd. And they were going up ramps and flipping around on skateboards, and crazy people. And they were irreverent, like the baby boomers were not a bunch of hippies that were irreverent in the 70s, which they were. Every generation is irreverent when it starts. It should. Winston Churchill said, when you're young, if you're not a liberal, and when you're old, if you're not you're a fool, and you're also a fool if by the time you're old, you're not a conservative. So it's the way things start. It's the way things go. Let me just tell you, there's nothing more capitalistic than an old hippie from the 70s. They know how to make money, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, it just changes everything, right? So then the Y generation comes along. And every generation, have you noticed, if you're a little bit older like me, that every generation gets trashed? Like the Xers, when they were coming up, everybody trashed them. The Y generation, they had no tethering. They weren't tied to anything. They just were adrift. And they went by pretty quick, actually. And then we land into the millennials. Oh, those dastardly millennials. Every generation gets trashed. But have you figured out yet, are you old enough to have figured out that every generation's got some good people in it, and every generation's got some bad people in it? There's some lazy bums. There's some people of no character. There are some people who are just absolutely foolish. And there are some people who are noble, that serve, that care about others, that are compassionate. In every generation, there are. And so to stereotype a generation stereotype anything really, pretty much shows your ignorance, right? Like what I just did. I just said, everybody who stereotypes shows their ignorance. Yeah? It's like just generalized, like prove the point, right? But so logic meltdown right there. But so the millennials, they're all what? What are they all? They're all participation trophy, entitled brats, living in their mother's basement. They're useless. Have you heard all this? I got to tell you, it's not true. Oh, there is some participation trophy entitled Occupy Wall Street brats that want to, anarchy, socialism, but why? Life's not fair. My education costs too much. I'm a victim. There's a percentage of those characters out there floating around, no doubt about it. But that is not really the millennial generation. They're really, truthfully, but I know this because I've got a building full of them. We got 719 people here, and over half of them are millennials. And we have an incredibly high-pressure, hard-working, world-class excellence team. We play for the Super Bowl every day or you get fired here. We're not mean about it. We just play to win. You can't catch a pass, you get to sit on the bench. We're doing what we do wide freaking open every day. And half of them are millennials. And they're unbelievably good at what they do. And they care deeply. Let me tell you, this generation, more than any generation I've ever worked with, if you get the good ones, they care more deeply. They will charge the gates of hell with a water pistol. I mean, because they're cause-driven, they're mission-driven. It's a wonderful generation. Now, again, the ones that are bums, they're just bums. And you can pick them out pretty quick because there's really no middle ground with this bunch. They're proud of being bums, or they're proud of being mission-driven, social justice-oriented, get stuff done for the other people, compassionate people. I love them. They're easy to work with. So I really don't like it when stuff like this 30-year-old deadbeat son gets kicked out of his house thing makes big news. It's on all the news feeds, and everybody wearing out the millennials because here's another one of those dastardly millennials. He's 31 years old. He wouldn't move out. His parents had to have him evicted. He's 30 years old. Had to have him evicted. So they took him to court, and the judge Evicted him. Now, here's the thing. We do have a sociological problem in our culture. We've got a arrested development issue where people aren't developing emotionally. We know this because 29% of the males between age 20 and age 30 still live at home. That's 1 out of 3 males. Now, you notice I didn't call them men. They still live at home. Now, we can call it their fault. We can call it mama's fault. We can call it daddy's fault. We can call it the government's fault. It might be the Democrats' fault. It's probably George W. Bush's fault. But we're not sure whose fault it is. But somebody needs to take the blame for this disastrous mess of these males who are not developing into men. A manhood crisis. The wussification of America. So these people have this 30-year-old living in their basement and they can't get him out. Well, let me help you with this. I am not an attorney, but I own a bunch of rental property. And I am virtually certain in every state in the union that a guest who is staying in your personal home does not fall under tenant law. When a guest does not leave your personal residence that is a guest of yours, when you request for them to leave, you throw their butt in the street. Physically, if you have to. And if you can't pull that off, you have the sheriff come by and go, I can't get this guy out of my house. He won't leave. Now, that's not a tenant eviction. So, is this guy a bum, this 30 years old? Absolutely. But did these parents create this? You dadgum right they did. If you have a 30-year-old living in your basement, it was a problem a long time ago. It was a problem 5 years ago. This is not a new problem. And they wrote him a letter. Let me tell you, somebody's in my house. I am not a wuss, okay? You wussified parents. You go down the hall, you grab him by his belt, and you toss his butt in the driveway. And throw his little MP3s out the window after him, or whatever he's going to take with him. His MacBook Air, whatever he's going to do, right? Just take whatever it is millennials take when they leave and go. But, I mean, that's by the time it's gotten to that point, what we know is that this guy's 30. When this guy was 12, no one taught him. No one taught him how to work. No one taught him how to save. No one taught him that the expectation is that when you are an adult, you will not be living here. My kids had a real clear understanding. We're paying for college and don't come home. Unless you bring grandbabies, and that's called a visit. Now, if you have a major problem, I don't mind mom and dad being a safety net. But this idea that mom and dad are a hammock is a bad idea. So if you're 26 years old and you're pissed off at me right now because you live in your mommy's basement, good. Grow a backbone, stand up on your 2 feet like you're a grown man, and start making a plan to be on your own. Well, I'm saving money. You're a wuss. Get out in the world. Save money by getting a roommate. Pay your own bills. Make your own omelet in the morning and learn to press your own pants and shirt. Oh, and learn to sew on a button too, young man. It'll be good for you when you're on the road one day actually working and the button comes off your shirt. This is called parenting skills, people. This is not this guy's fault. It's partly this guy's fault. He's a bum. But these parents, wusses. Unbelievable. I got to tell you, would have never gotten this far at the Ramseys. We'd have gone all hillbilly on you long before that. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.